A 1, 2, 3.
Gonna walk that promenade, yeah, we're gonna rock that promenade, be the talk of that promenade, looking for a star drifter, not a shapeshifter, lots to do and more to see, sweet sticks from a jump tree, oh, oddities, opportunities, free advice, but not for cheapo gambling wheels, shaded deals, meet me back here tomorrow, please. Walk that promenade. Yeah, we're gonna rock that promenade.
Oh, I forgot to take that on. Hello and good evening for this Monday, November 27th, 2023. Star Trek DS9, Season 7, Episode 2, Shadows and Symbols is over, and it has been for 25 years. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast for our review of this episode as we continue our ongoing journey to review every episode of Star Trek DS9. Now here in the final season. I'm Dave Mader here on Live Long and Podcast, joined with a great panel to break this episode down tonight. We got Jaemeel Robinson with us.
Alan Moraine.
We got the one, the only, the Niners starting first baseman. We got Kevin Millard. Hello. And do we still have Adam? Oh.
He came back first.
And then we get Adam Woodward with us, maybe two, maybe more than one, who knows. So
no, just one. I've got a new laptop. I was just fooling around with it and now it's working and it looks better. Much better.
Okay, well, that's good. Glad to have all of us together tonight to talk about, I guess, kind of the second part of this two-parter, even though it's not technically a two-parter, because it's not a to be continued, but kind of is. I don't know. It's a little confusing. It's the second episode of Season 7, regardless, and we're here to talk all about it. Shadows and Symbols, guys. Ezri Dax, kind of gets her first mission here with Captain Sisko. There's a whole other plot here with Kira and the Romulans and the blockade around Derna, and Worf and Quark and all them, and Worf, Quark, Bashir, and O'Brien and Martok all go off to make sure Jedzia gets into Sto-vo-kor while destroying a Dominion shipyard. So those are the three actual plots in this episode. Continue, that were set up previously. We'll just take some initial reactions on how we're coming in, starting maybe with Adam. Adam, how was this one for you?
I wish we had done both parts last week, because I feel after watching, because I didn't watch them together. I watched the other one, the second one yesterday, and it all makes sense now, Dave. It came together. I would have appreciated to watch that one full swoop.
Well, back in 1998, they didn't get that
No, they
choice.
didn't.
They had to wait a whole week, and so did you.
Yep.
So we're just.
It was a two-parter. I got to tell you guys.
I agree with you, but normally in Star Trek, whether it be in Enterprise or even on DS9, unless there's like a to be continued cliffhanger, we always just consider it a separate episode. We'll go to Jaemeel Robinson next. Jaemeel, how is this? And are we correct? Is this just the second part of from last week?
So I absolutely understand the idea of it being two parts, and yes, I understand your point of view, Dave, that it didn't have the to be continued. This episode or the previous episode didn't really have the cliffhanger that gives it the to be continued. So I would say it's a soft to be continued. It's a two-parter. I like this episode a lot. It handles a lot. There's a lot of things happening, but there's enough of it where all the stories kind of work-ish. There's one that I
Work-ish.
feel, yeah, I feel there's one that could have done with a little bit more time, but the other two, I think we get its point. It's to the point, and I think it was pretty well done. It's a pretty good episode.
Okay, and Kevin, you know,
I like this too. You get, it's a little bit slower than a typical episode, but you get a lot of touching moments. I think the introduction of Ezri is excellent. There's a few touching moments between her and Cisco during this episode, and I like the Kira and Odo too together in this episode were really nice, and really like Odo's like right by her, ready to go.
Yeah,
it's really nice, and I think maybe, I don't know if it's the same one you're thinking, Jaemeel, but I think the Jadzia storyline could have used a little more work. It could have. It seemed like the plot for that was like, well, we have to do this, so let's just do this, right? It wasn't.
Yeah, I
well
kind of
thought
felt
out.
like that. It could have been better, you know, like I think that there's just no time for any of it to really work, you know, with Worf and Quark especially. Like they had like this.
Yeah.
Why is Quark even there? What does he do on this mission? Like other than complain the entire time? You know, like I get.
Well, that's kind of, for me, it was weird that they were taking civilians along on this little mission, where they could be all killed. It's kind of funny when you think about that. But Jaemeel, you're right. There's a lot of storylines in this episode, though. Like now that you said that, I'm thinking maybe a little too much.
Yeah, maybe so.
My issue is, I disagree, Kevin, about the underserved storyline being the Worf one, but I don't feel it belongs at the same time that Ezri was kind of introduced. It should have been before, and then that's when you get that revelation of, you know, we meet Ezri with Cisco, right? And it's like, everyone, the audience is like, wait a second, who's Dax, right? Like,
who is Dax?
We're introduced, and then that is the to be continued, and then it goes on to the, you know, what should have been the Cisco and the, you know, Major Kira kind of storyline being played out in this episode. I think that's what should have happened.
Yeah, I would, if we were gonna go back in time and redo this, maybe waited one more episode to introduce Ezri would have maybe been better to allow some of that wound to heal with some of the other characters. But you know, like I guess they held off for most of one episode until Ezri walks in.
Great restraint.
Great.
What did she do? What did she do in this episode?
What
She threw the baseball.
She threw the baseball
And got thrown to the side.
She's there to kind of be like the voice of reason to Cisco, I guess. What does Joseph Cisco do on this mission? Like,
well, wait,
you know,
my biggest problem with this whole episode is that they beam down to the planet and then walk forever in the freaking desert.
Yeah, for no reason.
For no reason.
Well, there is a
Joseph
reason.
is like dying in the back, like needs a glass of water.
And he can go to the runabout anytime.
His son won't slow down for him.
Yeah.
Like,
Couldn't Joe and like Jake just go in the runabout and just like follow them, like
Yes.
every so often?
Yes.
Just like
Yeah, they could have like just said, "Call us when you find something." It could have been
Yeah.
like that, you know. But no, none of that happens. Like, there's just not enough time in the episode for these three storylines. I think that they all could have used a little bit more. The Kira one, I think, is fine on its own. But and the Cisco one is okay, but you know,
I felt that it just rushes the entire thing. The dude gets stabbed. like
in last episode, he got stabbed. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, there should be a little bit of time. Like, nah, I'm gonna do this very long excursion walk, healing from a stab wound. And I know people like dermal regenerators and all that stuff. The dude got stabbed, right? It don't matter. Right?
True. Yeah. Well, yeah, they did yada yada that stuff for sure. Okay, well let's just jump through the storyline. We'll see if we can just make sure we don't miss any beats. Of course, there's a live stream. We have, of course, the super fans with us, like Sam. Where's Jeff? That's the ongoing.
Sam,
hashtag.
good picture. I love that picture, Sam. That's a good picture, Sam.
Yeah.
Where's Jody and Davin? They're not here right now, but they will be back, I'm sure.
Don't you know me and Jody cannot be on the same podcast or like.
Hey, we already got
There's
four
a
of us here.
reoccurring problem with Jody. I've noticed,
Yeah.
I can't share a map with some people.
Yeah.
I think him and Esri are the biggest problem, right?
Yeah, well, that was what Norman was saying. He suspects that Esri played a role this episode. Might have been the issue. So, you might be on there to something there. Okay, let's go through it. So we saw here at the end of the last episode, Esri Dax walks into Ben Sisko's life, and to Jake's for that matter, and Joe's. So that's kind of right where this picks up with sort of this incredulous look here from Ben Sisko, even though he's dealt with 2 Daxes in his life. This is now will be the 3rd in Esri Dax, who comes into the mix. But he's very welcoming and accepting of her right away, as are the rest of them.
Which to me is absurd, knowing that changelings are a thing. It's just like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You think that like there would be more changeling paranoia the deeper this war gets, but it seems like it's actually that's gone down. And it's just all become about the Jem'Hadar in this conflict. But yeah, Esri's here, and I think that like we talked a little bit about this last episode, but she does a really good job coming in here and having to join this cast, and she has to have chemistry with Avery Brooks right away. They have to find a way to get along right away. They cast her for a reason. I don't know how many people auditioned for the part, but
they saw Catwalk on the resume and they're like, we have to hire you.
Yeah, we saw you with Billy Kay in Catwalk. Only season 3 after Nev Campbell left, but whatever. So.
Replacement Nev Campbell.
Replacement Terry Farrell. Here we go. But that's the teaser for the episode. And Esri is going on the mission with them, I guess, is the other thing they conclude.
I actually really liked that scene. Like, she didn't know what, when she was like, you don't even know what mission it is, and she's like, doesn't matter. I'm going.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll see you there. Yeah. Then we come back after the credits. We get the title card, shadows and symbols, showing the bird of prey docked at the station. They're having a ceremony on the bird of the prey for Jedzir as they're preparing to go on this dangerous mission that they set up last mission to go, the most dangerous mission they could think of, basically, to get the honor for Jedzir to get into Stovacor, Klingon heaven. This is the beginning of that. You got to cut yourself, to prove that you're not afraid of death. That's the one rule. And also maybe, make sure you're not a changeling for that matter. Then Quark shows up.
Is it really that much of a flex with dermal regenerators?
I don't think you're allowed to dermal regenerate it until at least until you're off the Klingon ship. But
just
so you have an infection.
Yeah, maybe
Exactly,
you might be allowed like an antiseptic to make sure you don't get infected, but that would be.
Well, you have a doctor nearby, so
yeah. Klingon doctors we know aren't so good. But Quark shows up and he wants to be part of it. He loved Jedzir just as much as any of the rest of them. More than her husband, I ask, but whatever. So they're like, what? He cuts himself, it's like, that's weird. But then Quark gets himself cut because he's all in on this. I hate that he's on this mission, quite frankly.
He's irritating. This is the first time I found him irritating.
Yeah. Jedzir should have been my wife. What? Like, what are you talking about, man? Like, I could maybe see that more with Bashir, but not with him. Anyway, but and O'Brien, he wasn't even that close to Jedzia. Like, he's just kind of here because Bashir is here.
He even says that, like, that's why he's on the mission in the previous episode. He says, well, I'm going to take care of Julian.
Yeah,
it's another holodeck adventure, but in real life.
But it turns out that O'Brien was the only guy they needed.
Most important man in Starfleet.
You've got these guys who can just set their own missions. Again, they just can join in. Oh, I want to go. I'm going to go.
We're in the middle of a war, but that's okay. Senior staff could just dip and go on another submission.
Well,
that isn't a generation.
Line.
Ezra just joins the desert walk, no problem. See ya.
Yeah, I guess if you're on leave or if you're not on duty today, you can do whatever you want. Maybe, I don't know.
But you still wear your uniform on leave.
You still wear your uniform. Yeah, good.
Great
point. We see the Klingon blood, very deep red here. I like when it's more reddish pinkish. That's just me though. Anyway, so they're getting ready for the quest. Then we go back to the runabout here and meet and catch up with Dax and the Sisko family. We find out that Ezri Dax now has space sickness, which is a bit of an issue since she's an astronaut. But she apparently threw up all over the console, and it wasn't a little. But they hypospray later, and they're going. And apparently, this is something that's only happened to her since she's been joined to the Dax symbiote. We don't see a ton of conversation here, like between Dax and Ben Sisko. Ends up being between Jake and Ezri largely, where he says, "Well, I'm glad you're here, and I know my dad is too." We find out she's not a science officer, but a ship's counselor, an assistant ship's counselor. And she orders this Raktajino, which she hates because Curzon and Jedzia like Raktaginos, but Ezri does not. Which also kind of goes with the fact that Ezri is not as much, doesn't have as much affection for the Klingon Empire as Curzon and Jedzia did either.
She probably would not eat from the heart of the albino.
No, no Stovokor for you, Ezri. So, quest or not. Then we go over to the Kira storyline, which is picking up with this whole thing that the Romulans, you give the Romulans a hospital, and of course they just want to put a bunch of torpedoes on it, and so this is continuing from last episode where, the Bajorans want those weapons off their moon. So does Admiral Ross. He's like, we're filing an official protest, but then the Romulans filed an official protest of our protest, which is, kind of like real life world politics.
But I don't understand why the Bajorans, when they allowed the hospital to be made, to not provide like a list of like, these are all the things you can't do with what we're giving you.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, maybe they did.
So that maybe, and they just like, oh, sorry, we didn't read the fine print.
They probably did, but they're Romulans. What do you like? You can't just like, you have to supervise Romulans like that. Like that's just a given. I wouldn't trust them. So like Kira says, like, well, when it comes to the war effort, the Romulans are more important than the Bajorans. And Bill Ross, he's like, it's a little harsh when you say it like that, which Kira says the truth usually is. So it's interesting because we're seeing this from Kira's perspective, and from Bajor's perspective, and they're completely in the right. And the human character, the Starfleet officer, the admiral here, he's kind of like not a bad guy, but certainly not helping matters here until the end when he changes his mind. Why did you change your mind first?
I like this whole thing with them because he has seemed like he doesn't like her through the last 2 episodes, right?
Right.
Like there's this like he can't just order her to do things because she's not Starfleet.
Right.
And that's kind of what he had with Ben. So he's got to, And I like by the end he's like, okay, like you get it. Oh, he's like, oh, I like her. She's cool.
You convinced me. Yeah,
Yeah.
Because you know how to play poker. Really,
I wish that line would go away. Remind me to never play poker with you. How many times has that line been used in all of TV and movies?
If you're
just stop it, writer. Stop it.
Anytime an alien bluffs their way, a human always has to say it. It's so annoying.
Hey, Dave. When I was watching the episode yesterday, I wondered what you thought of Admiral Ross's, utility belt there.
Love it.
Yeah.
Seriously? It's horrid.
What?
You go back when there it is.
No, it helps. It helps bring the whole thing together. The Admiral uniform's got a bit more flair to it,
It's motion picture. It's awful.
What? No, it's
I love
okay.
it.
The Admirals can have some belt. Like, I can have a belt.
But have a better belt. That belt sucks.
What's wrong with that belt?
It's a big buckle. It's really, really big.
It's too big?
I don't know.
We can maybe size
It's too
it down.
big. There's no belt loops. It's just kind of loose fitting, like it's jewelry.
Well, I think some
what is
belt
it
loops
doing?
would be good.
Belts
If
have
you had-
function.
If he had hips, do you think it would play a little bit better? It's kind of
I
just
think,
like
I think it's because the Admiral's jacket is a little longer than the rest of them, which is more of just a jacket. This one's more of a longer coat that goes past the waist, and so and they have the gold piping down the middle.
Yeah, that's what I don't like is the gold piping.
Well, they gotta make them look like they're a flag officer,
Yeah, I mean, you could have done that across the top, like between the gray and the black. I think.
I think you're overthinking it. The belt just sucks. It just doesn't look good. It's not good.
What about like these bigger red sleeves?
I like those red sleeves. I think that's pretty good. But
I don't care. I didn't even see them because they're behind the belt.
Well, only if he has his hands behind his back. I've always liked that belt on that uniform for the Admirals only. I don't think everyone should have one. But makes them look a little bit more official, I guess. But I guess I could see where you guys are coming from. It's not for everybody. Remember Major Kira used to have a belt, and then they took her belt away and looked better. So, and Odo used to have a belt, then they took his away. So maybe sometimes you're better off without a belt. I don't know. Anyway, so then we catch up with the Siskos and the runabout at Tyree. Of course, Joseph Sisko says he's going on this. Why, we'll never know. But Ben Sisko starts hearing the voices. That's when he hears the first voice about a doctor being needed to go to a certain ward. And we don't know where this is going, but we'll talk about that in a bit. They're going to beam down, and they beam down to this desert planet, which I guess is relatively safe. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of rocks and sand and vegetation.
So this was kind of funny to me too. Is like Sisko, Erzi, and Jake all look great with the hood, but poor Joe in the back there is pulled too far forward. Doesn't look so good on him.
Yeah. It was interesting that they didn't give them the under part of the uniform, only the over part. This is like this was actually a uniform I don't think we had seen before. A desert environment Starfleet uniform that has like a t-shirt and sort of these, I don't know, like track pants or whatever, and this over thing and the hood and everything else. No sunglasses though. You might want some sunglasses to come with this uniform, but I'm sure that was probably going to be a problem for the reflection. So they're walking through the desert. Sisko's doing his best Moses impression, and he's going to lead them through here.
So do you think Joe was in the back just swing low, sweet chariot in the back?
Probably. He's probably he's here for
let my people go.
That's good.
Sorry,
I think he's here for
Brother Benny.
He's here for Brother Benny.
I think he's there for Sarah. I think he's wanting to know what happened to her and if he can get her back.
Sarah. Yeah, like the fact that again he could have beamed down at any point. So could Jake.
Yep.
Jake's, but like Brock Peters wanted to come. I don't know why you would bring Brock Peters into this episode just to do nothing with him. I don't get it, but
you should have like,
Right,
I'm just gonna chill.
Just so we could watch him suffer. Like,
I guess.
That's it.
He's like, I want some of that O'Brien action.
Yeah. What's he saying?
I speak with the voice of the prophets.
Yep. So back on the Klingon ship, where we see them cloak. Quark is complaining, wanting a thank you from Worf because Worf is glaring at him too much, which apparently he always does.
That's great.
That's a great line. Did you see that? What? He glared at me. He always glares at you.
Yeah, and then he's like, I want to hear a thank you from Worf, and he's like, yeah, you want to hear 2 words? Be quiet. I owe you nothing. And I was like, you're right. He doesn't. Worf is all pissed off. He also kind of blows up at Bashir and O'Brien. But they don't really deserve it. Anyway,
you're right.
So Worf storms out. I think Quark deserved it. And then back to the Cisco and Ezri walking in the desert. She's like, what about your dad and Jake who are struggling to keep up? He's like, hey Dad, how are you doing? And he's like, oh, never better.
It's so great. I was cackling.
Yeah. He's like, see, he's fine.
He's fine.
So good.
Then go to Cardassia, seeing the how the war is progressing here from the Dominion's point of view and the Cardassians. Damar has got some lady friend here he met at the dinner last night, pouring her some of that syrupy Kanar, like all times here. Until Wayoon shows up and says, get rid of her or I'll have to have her executed for hearing anything I have to say. So kicks her out. And then he goes, a lovely woman. What a lovely woman he says.
It's so great.
After he threatened to have her killed. We see the shipyards that the Worf and those guys are going to visit in a bit. So we kind of get that, to see it, that they need to increase their production by more. And a lot of that's left to Damar to figure out. Wayoon just goes, I don't know, more production, keep going. And yeah, I think that's the only scene these two have in this episode. But that's it. So then with the Kira and Odo of things talking about what they're going to do, and Kira says, I'm going to set up a blockade and stop any weapons from getting to that moon because they still don't have the detonators to the torpedoes. So that part still has to get installed. And, I agree with Kevin. I like this scene. I thought they make a pretty good couple, these two. I think, so not everyone's a fan of the Kira Odo storyline, but I'm okay with it. He was just kind of like, well, I thought it would be long and prosperous life, but, short and exciting sounds fun too. He's coming along too. And Kira is going to lead the blockade herself. Back with the Cisco storyline, walking through the desert. Joe Cisco is still struggling. Dan can beam up whenever he wants. They should have at least said there was some way he couldn't beam up, so this would make more sense. But it's kind of a montage in this part where we just see Joe Cisco struggling, Ben Cisco not caring, and Ezri kind of looking back and forth until Ben Cisco kind of collapses here, even leaves his pack and just takes his baseball and his shovel at one point. He's just like, I don't even need a backpack or water.
That's all a man needs.
Yeah, his baseball and his shovel. Ezri grabs a couple of water packs, and I think she gives them to Cisco, Joe Cisco, that is. And then, we see that Ben is just kind of staring down this chasm here in the desert, holding his baseball, to which Dax gets a bit frustrated, and she ends up throwing it over here, and it lands, and then we see this vision here of when that baseball fell off that piano last episode. That's how the prophets communicate, guys. They do it in baseball format.
It makes sense. That's the way Cisco communicates too. If he takes his baseball, he's not sure he's coming back.
That sounds like baseball.
That's right. And he goes, "That's where it is. That's where the orb is." Turns out that's true. But she goes, "I wasn't even aiming at something, you know." But the prophets knew.
No, you know what we learn here and through the next few scenes is that either Avery Brooks or Cisco have no idea how to dig a hole.
True. Yeah,
he's putting sand back where he's digging, and then he's throwing
like
it
flying,
over,
flailing sand everywhere. Yeah, I think he's never dug a hole, more than likely. Over to the blockade. This episode jumps between the storylines fast. So I love. Okay, we were talking about that in our starship ranking. I think that Jaemeel took place in, and that Bajoran interceptor, which is the lead ship there, that Kira is commanding. I like that ship. I know it can't go to warp, but you know it's a good ship. Design simple, elegant, fast. Anyway. So then we see here that a Mike Hammer mystery is given to Kira from Odo, a book, in English as well as Bajoran.
I thought it was like an iPad and looked like Lita Ford was going to break out singing "Kiss Me Deadly" or something.
I don't know this book. Can anyone fill me in on what this context is? No.
No.
Okay. Well, it's about I got the impression it's about a hopeless cause, and just then we get a call here from the Romulans and Admiral Ross, and Kira puts on her poker face. She's like, "Hey, guess what? Those Romulan warbirds are showing up to give medical supplies to the hospitals." She's like, "Any ship that tries to cross the blockade will be fired upon, so you better not do it." So we get this whole standoff here between these. We'll come back to this a couple times. But I like Kira. I think Nana Visitor and the way it's written and the way it's played out works really well. I like the storyline. It's simple. It's easy. Makes sense. It's all good for me here. And so the waiting continues. So and then Admiral Ross says, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And so the Romulan, what's her name, Senator Kretek, I think. She's saying, well, she's gonna blink. She's not gonna fire on a Romulan warbird or several Romulan warbirds. That would be silly because the Romulans militarily are vastly outmatched them.
Yeah.
Right. So, but Kira is hoping that they won't jeopardize the alliance with the Federation, which is more important. So then, Joe Cisco collapse in the desert as Ben is digging his hole, not so well. Going along here. Then back to the Klingon storyline where Martok is basically given shit to Worf for. He's like, you know what? They all came out here. It's good of those guys. Like Quark, he's risking his life. You should tell him he's thanks. I found this was curious for Martok to say this, but Worf.
It felt like the plot needed him to say it as opposed to this is something he would say.
Yes, yeah, right. Like we don't have time for there to sort of be this other build up, or for Bashir to say this to him, or Brian to say this to him. So it has to. Who's gonna say it to him that he's going to accept this advice very fast, and that would be Martok. Even if Martok, I agree, wouldn't necessarily say this.
Yeah.
Nor under normal circumstances. He doesn't like Quark, does he?
I think Martok would have never said a word if he had just limited his comments to Quark. Yeah. But he didn't. He overshot. He went after O'Brien.
It's because
he goes, you don't do.
Yeah. And he's like, O'Brien is the only reason we're gonna actually succeed on this mission. You know that, right? Like he's the only guy we need, and he doesn't even care about getting Jed's into Stovacor.
And if I were Worf, I wouldn't fuck with Keiko either. Like it should bring wrath down on him for fucking with O'Brien.
So then we get the apology, Worf to the three of them, saying, "I'm happy you guys are here. She be happy. She used to come home and tell me funny stories of things you would say and do, and made me a little jealous sometimes. But I'm glad you care. So I guess." That's the part I didn't like. I didn't like he's mad because he had to share her with them. Fuck that. The three of them, or the two of them, Quark and
Bashir, them carrying this flame for her across the whole series is awful. I fucking hate it.
Yeah, me
Like,
too. Both of them.
Both of them.
Yeah,
Yes.
like it'd be bad enough with one of them, you know.
Yeah.
But like Julian was in other relationships, like with Lita and other people. Like it doesn't like, and so was Quark for that matter. Like I thought, like he was way better with Grilka, you know, than he ever would have been with Dax.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's just like, what are you doing here, guys? Like, yes, like, you know, I think that they're coming from the perspective of like, you know, the nerd who has the crush on a woman that was unattainable and or something, but you know, and that unrequited love. But I don't know. I agree with you. It doesn't work for me. And this storyline doesn't work for me. Like, sure, like I'm glad, go blow up some Geminar shipyards, and that doesn't get revenge on Dukat, on the Pa race, or any of that. So, but that's what they're gonna do. This is the best they can do.
Again, this should have been stewing for a bit, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, he's like, I got to do something. Not, I'm jealous.
Right. We see the shipyards in the view screen. That we see that they have to get really close to the sun. He says, "How close do we have to get? Oh, too close." I love that line from Martok. You know, he's just happy.
These guys are great when they start getting into the battle. It's
yeah,
so good.
So then we're back to Cisco digging his hole badly. Jake and Joe just trying to catch their breath under this rock. But guess what, guys?
All of a sudden the orb appears.
Yeah,
he didn't dig that out, I'll tell you that.
Just kind of like pushes up out of the sand. Like, let's give him a hand, prophets.
It's like we'll be sitting here forever from underneath.
The prophets are like, we don't understand time, but I'm pretty sure this is never going to happen.
All right. So he finds the orb and he's about to open it, but then all of a sudden this false vision hits him. It's time for Brother Benny, guys. Why does he have the pencil? What's this mean? And then we go back to Benny Russell, his alter ego from the fifth dimension or wherever. Writing in the 1950s? Is that when Benny Russell exists? We saw, I guess after he was committed last time we saw him, was it Far Beyond the Stars?
Yeah.
So he's been committed and he's now writing his story, not with a typewriter, but just on the wall with a pencil. The guy who plays Damar, Casey Biggs, is here playing this doctor, telling him, he's the doctor we heard paging, and he's like, Benny, you gotta give this up. It's all a delusion. It's harming your mental health. We'll find out that this is a false vision from the Pa race. And basically that this doctor the Damar doctor wants him to stop writing, don't open the box, and to give up the delusion of the Ben Cisco and all that. He's I think Jake tries to help. Jake tries to help open it, and then Jake gets thrown across here. Just to give us some action. Ben doesn't even react to that, so he's like fully in the trance. As he helps pick him up. And we'll pause that for a minute. Come back to this Romulan storyline. Love seeing all these warbirds together. They looked really cool in the high def. Watching this back as they're approaching that moon of Derna around Bajor, and Kira staring them down. Again, Ross and Kretak want to talk. Come on, you can't beat them.
Back down.
Like, oh, I'm touched by your concern.
She's very cool here, eh? Just in control, not worried.
Willing to stand up to them here, and
very competent,
very confident. And
then, competent.
Competent. Well, maybe. Again, like the Romulan lady here, expecting Kira to back down, but Admiral Ross, he's not so sure. I don't know about this woman, like this Bajor and Colonel.
He's like, I don't know what she's gonna do. I can't order her to do anything.
Yeah, Ben was here. I just order him to order her, and then it would be fine. And then back to the Klingons in the story here. The son, Quark just more complaining. Again, does nothing on this mission. What is he doing? What is it for that matter? Like all Worf does is give the order to fire.
They're all risking their lives, and I think that's the point. But did we need Quark to be fucking irritating the entire time? That was a bad choice. Like
if they had like tussled with some Jem'Hadar on the bridge, like maybe some Jem'Hadar beam over and they have to fight him, and Quark actually does something like saves Worf from a Jem'Hadar. Maybe then it would make sense. But I feel like there was more to this, and they cut it out.
But do you really think does Quark actually seem like he's there to get Jadzia into Stovall to do this? Because all he does is complain the entire time.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't get why he's doing it, because I think he thinks that she would want him to.
Right.
Would she?
Guess. She would be like, "You don't have to do this."
Yeah. It's not like
just find one of my former enemies and eat their heart. That's way easier.
That's how it goes. Anyway, so back to the Benny Russell of things. The doctor here, the Damar, he wants him to just paint over here with the white paint. And his laugh here was hilarious. It was just like, it was almost like that interview in The Captains with William Shatner. Kind of reminded me of that. Just delirious almost, and he's about to do it. He's about to cover it over, and then he starts trying to bury the orb in back here on Tyree.
Yeah. Doesn't know how to do that either.
Doesn't know how to bury anything either, or dig it out. He actually throws Ezri here to the ground, he's flailing. He's about to paint over. He's about to do it. And things are looking bad here. Just then, we cut over to the Romulan storyline. The Romulans are getting closer. Kira, the walls are caving in here on Kira and Odo. What are they going to do? Is she going to blink? Is she going to back down? Hold the phone, guys. We got to get over here to this storyline with Worf. They're getting close to the sun. And they're going to come over here with the bird of prey and fire at the sun. Which Worf gives the order with this modulated tractor beam, but it doesn't work.
Doesn't work. So in all three of our storylines, they've hit a roadblock. And then Kevin, your favorite Quark just wants to go home now. I'm done.
Yeah. He's like, "Are we done? Can we go?" No, because the Jem'Hadar are now coming to attack. And so they're coming after the bird of prey. Cisco is not only is he going to bury this orb, he's going to bash it with his shovel, which I guess might destroy it. So,
not a great orb, right? Like, if it could just be destroyed with a shovel.
A man flailing.
Don't worry, he's not gonna. He's very ineffective with a shovel.
It's better with a baseball, really. He's about to do it. He's about to paint over in the vision, and then his conviction comes. He drops the paint. No, Damar Doctor says. And then he starts punching Damar Doctor. He starts punching this orderly and kicking him down, and just then going back, picks up the pencil and starts writing again.
An absolute ineffectual duo. Two of them just get wrecked by this dude.
This guy who's more focused on writing on a wall than anything, But anyway, which coincides with Cisco actually opening it and having this vision, seeing the orb and taking him into vision. Oh, first we see like the prophet, I guess, which I guess is Cisco's mom, jumps out of here. And then he goes into the vision where he starts, we see that energy comes out from Tyree, goes past Deep Space Nine and into the wormhole. The wormhole is reopened. And now back over to the blockade with Kira, where, she's getting, the times are coming up. Deep Space Nine calls. Guess what? The wormhole is reopening, guys, which Kira takes as a sign. There's a sign that she is fighting the righteous fight here. She's going to take down. We see that this Pa Wraith gets expelled out of the Celestial Temple and blows up. Dead.
And that's the moment. And that's the moment where Kira's religious beliefs almost get everyone killed,
including her. they think that the wormhole reopening would be good news for like the Dominion more than anybody, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess not. Anyway, so back to these Jem'Hadar chasing down the Rotaran and Martok. It's looking kind of dire as they're going along here. They're trying to get the tractor beam to remodulate, and which is all coming down to O'Brien. O'Brien's the only guy who's going to make this happen. Quark wants to retreat and run away. They fire this thing off, which of course ignites the solar flare. And this is the other part I didn't get is like, why is the Rotaran able to get away, but these 3 Jem'Hadar ships aren't?
Because they had sunglasses on.
They had sunglasses on? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool guys don't look at explosions?
Yeah, they let it behind, they look back, so.
Yeah.
That's why.
Not only because you think being really close to the sun when it like ignites like this would be worse, but apparently not. It's the bird of prey gets away, but like the shipyards, which presumably are further away, are destroyed. So they go out, and I guess glorious victory here. We get like a handshake here between Quark and Martok, which I didn't get. Because I'm like, what did Quark do? Again?
He
complained.
He wanted to run away. He acted cowardly. This brought no honor to the mission. So Worf says a little prayer, and by the end he's like, okay, she's in Stovacor. Mission accomplished. I
will kill the Ferengi now.
That would have been great if he just like, now I can kill Quark. Honor has been satisfied.
No, that Ferengi. He never says Quark.
Oh yeah, never says his name. That's true. Here we see that the Romulan warbirds are turning around. They're not going to try to run this blockade. Kira has won the day because Bill Ross made them, which he could have done from the beginning. So whatever.
Oh, that's great.
You convinced me, Major or Colonel. I'm sorry. And back to this. Okay, we have this final conversation here between Sisko and the Prophet, Sarah, his mother, basically revealing that she possessed his mother, his birth mother, and made sure that he was born. It was, and then when he was born, she wasn't possessing his birth mother anymore. His birth mother left his father because she never signed up to marry him in the first place, and then she was killed.
Joseph feeling this whole thing.
Not covered. You think you could bring Brock Peters into the episode? Maybe fewer scenes with him going, I'm tired, I'm hot. Maybe dealing with the aftermath of this more important. Because also like Ben had to like fly his dad home before he could even go to Deep Space Nine, right? Like, so like
he just left
on
him
a cargo ship and is like, hey, you can hitch a ride.
Can you hitch a ride on a cargo ship, Dad? Maybe make some dinner for them along the way. What did you guys think of the conversation between Ben and the prophets here and his mother and all this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I kind of felt about it.
Yeah, it's never
long. I'm not a huge fan of this one playing her. Like, I don't think her performance is that great. And but she's like, it could only be you, Sisko. You could be the Sisko. It could be nobody else.
Only you could be you. Yeah, no kidding. Like,
only you could be you. Anyway, and then he's super happy after this vision. He knows what he needs to do. Back to Deep Space Nine. I guess there's a time jump here because, of course, as we mentioned, either he got his dad to hitchhike a ride home, or he had to fly him home to Earth, which would presumably be in the wrong direction. So, and then he comes.
Coming up, we get the classic holding the kids.
I was like, that's Kirk's move. Kirk always did that.
Yes.
Right? Love to pick up a kid and hold the kid.
Yeah, that's a throwback.
Meeting up with the senior staff. He's like, I'm good to be home. All the Bajorans, of course. And then Ezri says hello to the other senior officers. Worf, we need to talk. It's Jake says who it is. It's Ezri Dax. Worf says it can't be. He walks away. We know we'll come back to that. But the rest of them looking on in sort of wonder as Nicole Dubois, as Ezri Dax, turns around for her last final look here at the camera as we go to credits. So that's the episode. And the introduction of Ezri. Anyone feeling like the fun facts?
Sure, hit me with it. Oh, I don't have any fun facts. I thought you were going to provide.
Oh, I can. I can. Yes. Details discovered by Dave. Ezri's uneasiness with adapting to the Dax symbiote established in this episode was inspired by the difficulty of casting the role. Rene Echeverria recalled, finally, one day at lunch, I said, what if we make the character a little bit more complicated? What if she wasn't an initiate? What if she wasn't planning to be joined, but she was only one available because of some circumstance, and she was completely unprepared for it? After hearing this, Ira Stephen Bear redefined the character, saying she's neurotic, she hears voices, she doesn't know which way is up. So yeah, we didn't really talk about too much about that, but the fact that Ezri Dax hadn't signed up to get a symbiote. She just happened to be the only Trill on the ship at the time and got joined here. And once you're joined, you're joined. So, wouldn't have been the choice in Trill society, but now she is this. I personally like that choice. It makes it a little bit more interesting. Anyone disagree?
I hate to be that person, but yeah. Meh.
In defending the decision to send 72-year-old Joseph Sisko actor Brock Peters into the Palmdale Desert for scenes on Tyree, Ira Stephen Bear explained that Ben came back home to be with his father, and I just felt that keeping the family together meant something. If it had been my kid off, I'd have gone with my kid. If it had been Bonanza, Ben Cartwright would have gone with little Joe and Haas and even Adam. Was Ben Cartwright? I don't get that. What the.
They're just talking about the father figure in Bonanza doing this.
Okay. Do you guys accept Ira Stephen Bear's explanation?
No, it's still lazy and stupid.
Yeah. Ira Bear referred to the Kira Romulan story in this episode as the Cuban Missile Crisis story, but it was specifically written in a way that it was Starfleet who had to back down, not the Romulans.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't feeling like Cuban Missile Crisis quite. That feeling. I don't know about you guys. According to Rene Echeverria, the idea to reveal Sisko as part prophet, meaning his mother being a prophet, came from a desire to foreground his status as emissary of the prophets. As the show began winding down, we realized that we wanted to be a bit more specific about the whole emissary thing, which as an arc had been so interesting to us. We settled on this idea that Sisko was in some way half man, half God. Not unsurprisingly, in a franchise that rarely engages with religion, having the lead character revealed as part God was extremely controversial. But Ira Bear claimed that it was actually something of a commentary on Star Trek mystique itself. I felt that if all the Star Trek Starfleet captains are treated like gods by the viewers, clearly the next step was to actually make one of those captains a god, or at least god-like. Indeed, that he was the only half-prophet was the very key to the idea.
This is what? Part God? No, he isn't. No.
Is he kind of like a demigod?
No, that doesn't make any sense. She was possessed. Like the prophets wasn't his mother. They possessed.
Not biologically, but
spiritually. Part of his
paw. His paw is half his paw. Come on, guys.
Oh, Lord. No, I don't. That's like they made sure like he had a destiny and they made sure he was born. All that I can buy. This part like profit business, no. That's a little bit too much for me.
The Sarah Prophet confirms in this episode that the Paw Wraith that was released by Dukat and helped him kill Jadzia is Costa Mojin, which is like the Bajoran Devil, the leader of those Paw Wraiths. The Prophet tells Sisko in this episode that he is necessary. This recalls the 4th season episode Accession, which they tell him he is of Bajor, and that they have sent Bajor names are tough. Akram Lon into the future in an attempt again to accept his role as emissary of the prophets. The Benny Russell vision in this episode is sent to Cisco by the Paw Race to divert him from his efforts to reopen the wormhole. The previous vision, as seen in Far Beyond the Stars, was sent to him by the prophets to help him get over the death of a close friend. And one more. This marks the last appearance of Weyun 5. Oh, I'm kind of giving a little bit of a spoiler here to Adam here, but because he is the fifth in the series of clones of Weyun, seen in every appearance since the Ties of Blood and Water in the 5th season. Between this episode and the Treachery, Faith, and the Great River, he died off screen in a mysterious transporter accident and was replaced by a defective clone, Weyun 6.
William Weyun 6.
This episode marks the final appearance of Joseph Sisko as well.
Well, probably had a heart attack after all that walking in the desert.
Yeah. He was
They just left him in the desert. They didn't need him anymore.
Or they were just like, hey, do you want to come on and do another guest appearance this season? He's like, no,
I'm good.
I won't. Yeah, I'll just stay home. How about that?
Also, don't die there. No one's going to be able to bury you.
Not your son, at least. All right, let's get into our ratings, guys. Shadows and symbols. Oh, sorry, I gotta unhide Jaemeel's. There we go. Okay. Jaemeel, you want to start us off?
Okay, I will give this a 7.
A 7. Thank you. You didn't give a. Did you watch part 1, Image in the Sand?
I did watch part 1.
Do you have a rating on there?
A 7.
Same thing. Okay.
Yeah, part 1 and part 2 both get a 7.
Okay. I'm kind of with you guys. Like, the episode's okay, but I don't love it. So I'll go 7.5.
Oh.
That's not loving it. Huh.
Adam?
I came to the show tonight, Dave, with a much higher rating than I'm going to give it now. You made me think how terrible this was and boring it was.
It's not terrible.
It was very slow, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I did yesterday. So I'm going to give it a 6.
Ooh.
6 from Adam. Kevin?
I'll go 7.
7. Okay. I feel like my 7.5 might be too high.
See?
I'll go 7.25. Okay.
Okay.
Quarter mark deduction.
Whew, I had thought you'd lost your mind, but now everything is okay.
Well, good. This has a 7.9 on IMDb with 2,000 votes. So IMDb ranks this episode higher than part 1, but we actually rank it lower. So whatever that's worth. I don't believe Davin gave us a rating.
10.
Sam would give it a 6. Norman gives it a 6.5.
Okay.
And I think we can say that's that for that episode. All right, next episode is called what?
Getting things going, maybe.
Getting things going. Well, let me tell you. Oh wait, no, that's not that right one. No, can't be that. Come on, guys. Okay, the next image is called
an Esri episode.
You are dead on there, mister. The next episode is called After Image. Esri Dax has trouble adjusting with the rest of the crew. Garrick inexplicably collapses. Okay, yes. Yep. It's because she's a counselor. Garrick has some mental health duress, and she's kind of going to help him tackle that. Which I think it makes a lot of sense to give Esri this episode, because she just came into the cast, and to give something a story that is more focused on her at this particular point in the season probably is the right thing to do. We're going to find out that they're going to come back to her quite a bit. throughout this season. So this is the first time. So we're gonna see how all that plays out. Odo Quark, yeah, I don't remember it a lot this episode, so it's gonna be interesting to go there. Also, some fun things with pronouns because Ezri is struggling with all her pronouns with her past lives when she's been a man and a woman several times, respectively.
You're trying a lot of different things.
Trying a lot of different things. Okay, well, guys, I think that's it for this one. Thanks for being with us for Shadows and Symbols. Let us know what you think in the comments. Not just the live comments, but also in the future. Jody Simpson saying we're looking good. Well, thank you, sir. Kevin and I were champions, third event champions, along with Jody on Saturday. So, maybe Jody's just recovering from all that.
Maybe.
Or maybe. Make sure you check out our other content here on Live Long and Podcast. Our many divisions like Locutors of Trek, who just they just did a whole deep dive. Their Trek 10, talk about their theories for the Star Trek Legacy show, like if it ever happens and what they would like to see with it. They did they had a whole discussion about biology with Mohammed Noor somewhat recently. And what's this other one? Looks like they're going to be talking metaphysics in the near future with Richard Hanley for their second episode of Locutors of Trek Season 2. All kinds of great content. And we did Lower Decks. Soon, Star Trek Radio Theater. I'm publishing the one we recorded a million years ago. I'm finally almost done the edit. So look out for that soon. That will come out under our operations division. But then I think there's no new Star Trek shows coming until probably January, at least at the earliest. We hope you'll check out our sister channels over on the United Federation of Podcasts, which features all kinds of great channels like the Super Mater Brothers podcast. With Jaemeel and I, we were covering Big Brother 25 for a million years. We were in the time loop, going over and over again. But we're still covering Survivor. If you didn't know, Survivor season 45 has got a few episodes left. We're down to like the final 9 now, 8, I think. So look out for us Wednesday to be talking about that. The Mary Maiden Marvel Society, always covering whatever's coming out in the MCU. Most recently, the Marvels. We talked all about that. And then the other channels like Eamon on Track. Eamon Mater talks music albums. I believe Kevin Millard going on to talk about 9 Inch Nails in the near future. Look out for that. We got the Hold Up podcast with Davin and Murphy every second Wednesday, talking 3 movies and a theme. I think they're talking radio movies next. And X-Rated, X-Men the Animated Series. Actually, I think I'm on this tomorrow. I think I just reminded myself. I am on this tomorrow. I better watch that movie. I'll be talking X-Men, the original 2000 movie with Davin and Andre tomorrow. Because part of it was filmed here in Burlington, so there's kind of a connection here, just across the street, actually. And Graphic Histories with Andre Mayette, where he interviews people. I think that's it, guys. Thanks for being with us. We'll play you out on a quote, and we'll join you next time for that the After Image episode. Thanks to all the panelists and those in the comments for being with us tonight. And just 2 little words is all I want.
All I'm asking for is 2 little words.
Be quiet!
That's 2 words, all right. Just not the 2 I was hoping for.
The Longer Podcast, everyone. See you next time.
Get out of here.